Joining me now from our Tel Aviv studio is Jerusalem affairs expert Professor Moshe Amirav of the Hebrew University. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor.
Hi.
The issue of the Temple Mount is considered very volatile. How do you expect this latest move of installing surveillance cameras to play out?
This is actually not about technical things. It has to do, I would say, about who is the boss. And there are three bosses here. One is, of course, Israel, and then Jordan, and then the Palestinians. And they have to come to terms and agree on what is it and how is it going to work, and who will translate after it what we saw on the surveillance. And this is going to be not so easy. So right now, we are in the last stage, I understand, of deciding how, where will the camera work, who will express its interpretation to what we see, and the whole world will watch what's happening at Temple Mount. Not only the media, but also the Muslim world, because this is not only a Palestinian issue, and this is what I'm trying to tell many Israelis, that we are dealing here with a problem that has to do with 2 billion Muslims all over the world, who for them it's a well-known place. They know the place. They are sure that the Israelis are going to build the temple soon, in a few months, maybe in a few years. And with this kind of I would say, problem we are dealing. It's not a technical problem.
Professor Amirav, for the past several months, Palestinians have been charging that the ongoing terror wave was a result of what they called Israeli attempts to change the status quo on the holy site. No matter what Israel does, it doesn't seem to be calming their concerns. Is this just an excuse?
The status quo is a question that for the last almost 60, 70 years, even before Israel was ruling the Temple Mount, was a problem and was a question about who is dealing and who is doing what on Temple Mount. Now, for millions of Muslims, it's first of all, it's the third of holiness in the world. And for them, the way they see it is, and I spoke with many Muslim leaders all over the world, and you know, intelligent people, they said, you Israelis, you really want to build the temple instead of our mosque. You are going to destroy the mosque, actually. This is what you have in the back of your mind. And I mean, it was intelligent people or professors in the university who really believed so. And it's very difficult to change this kind of concept. Now, in terms of day by day, of course, there was a status quo that they can prove it, that Israel changed the status quo. I mean, by Jews coming up, not just Jews, I mean ministers of the government, members of the Knesset, they did it in a kind of a very provocative way, coming again and again to Temple Mount, praying there, and speaking and even shouting that here we are going to build the temple, the Mikdash. So when they see all these provocations, and it's not a provocation of the Israeli government, but there were members of the Israeli government, two members of the Israeli government, who made it very easy for the Palestinians and for the Muslim world to say, here you see, the Israelis, they want to build the temple here. So we are in a kind of dilemma here that has to do with a concept that whatever we do, we will be in trouble in the next few months.
Do you think, in fact, that the latest upsurge in violence that we're witnessing is actually the result of the lack of a diplomatic process?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. This is the main reason why the whole area here is burning. And it started in Temple Mount. It went out to the Jerusalem and all over the West Bank. And we are speaking about, I call it intifada. I mean, and this is the third intifada, because the intifada, I would like to remind you, started, the last intifada, because of Temple Mount. It was when Prime Minister Sharon went up to the mountain, it was a provocation. And the way they see it, the Palestinians, and not only the Palestinians, it's, I'm saying again, it's millions of Muslims. They see it as a provocation of the Israelis who wants to build the temple there. So I'm not so optimistic about how we would be able to have a kind of a quiet arrangement with cameras, with people coming, Jews, tourists, Muslims, up to this very voltage place, Temple Mount.
The issue of Jerusalem finally always was and will remain a contentious issue, and Palestinians highlight the matter in their incitement videos. You've authored several books on the issue. What foreseeable solution do you propose to promote coexistence?
The last time we had really a serious conversation with the Palestinians about Temple Mount and about Jerusalem was in Camp David 2000. I was there with Prime Minister Barak as his advisor on the issue of Jerusalem. And Faisal Husseini, the late Faisal Husseini, was the advisor on Jerusalem to Arafat. And actually the two of us, we came to agreement about Temple Mount and about Jerusalem. The problem was that the leaders of our nations didn't agree to the idea we brought. Faisal Husseini, he died a few years later, and myself. I as a Zionist, as an Israeli, and he is a Palestinian from a very noble family, and he and me actually came to the solution that I still think is the only solution, which is to divide the area that Wailing Wall will be for Israel with the Israeli flag. And up there on the mountain will be their temple, the mosque, and with the Palestinian flag. And if we don't agree on that, we will have again and again and more intifadas on this mountain.
Professor Moshe Amirav from the Hebrew University, thank you so much for being our guest, as always.
Thank you.